Justin Trudeau would rather have a snap election than be open with the public. What exactly is he hiding? Hi, I'm Brian LILLEY, political columnist with the Toronto Sun. If you haven't been paying attention to Parliament over the last few days, you may have missed that we are on the brink of an election. Yes, we could be heading to the polls in the middle of a pandemic that the Prime Minister says he is so focused on that he can't talk about anything else. And that includes his own government's record on the pandemic. Stick with me because I'm going to explain to you what the Liberals are trying to hide, what they should be open and transparent about, what the Prime Minister is saying, and what the opposition is asking for. It's not all that difficult. It should be pretty darn simple, but the simple fact of the matter is Justin Trudeau doesn't want you to find out his secrets. As I've been writing in the papers this week for the Toronto Sun, the Trudeau Liberals are not only trying to hide documents, they are trying to hide issues related to the healthcare side of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's right. The Trudeau Liberals, we know that they have been filibustering when it comes to the release of documents. They don't want the public to know what was going on with charity, who was paid for what the connections between the Trudeau family and the charity were. They have spent days blocking committees from having votes to call for those documents. But did you know that they've also done the same thing at the Health Committee, where conservative health critic Michelle Rempel-Garner has put forward a motion calling for the study of the government's response to COVID-19. They've done the same thing. They're using the same tactics. They don't want you to know what happened to the National Emergency Strategic Stockpile. They don't want you to know what happened to the Global Public Health Intelligence Network. That's the early warning system that they dismantled and told the doctors to go study vaping instead of looking for potential pandemics or other threats. They don't want any of this coming out. So what are they doing? Well, the Prime Minister has decided that if the opposition parties go forward with an opposition day motion that would set up a special committee just to look into how they've dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic, well, that is effectively a vote of non-confidence and a push to an election.
We proposed a special committee, an extraordinary measure, so that parliamentarians can dig into all the spending that this government has put forward in exceptional circumstances to help Canadians through this COVID crisis. The Conservatives put forward a motion that clearly outlines their lack of confidence in the government. The opposition is going to have to decide whether they want to make this minority parliament work or whether they have lost confidence in the government.
Now, in all my time covering parliaments, and I've covered 4 minority parliaments, I've never seen anything like this, and I can't quite find it in the history books where people are passing a motion calling for a committee to be set up, and the government says, if you set up this committee, it means we're going to an election. Now, the Liberals want you to believe that they also want a special committee set up. Well, their version of the committee would give them the same number of MPs as the opposition parties. That's not how it works in a minority parliament. The simple fact of the matter is the Liberals don't have the majority. They should have the minority of seats on any committee. If they have an equal number of MPs to the opposition, then they get to block any motion, any request for documents, any study that might be actually detrimental to the government. That's why they're going this way. Conservative leader Erin O'Toole laid out quite plainly why this committee needs to be struck.
We know that Justin Trudeau's government has rewarded we with multiple sole source contracts over the last 5 years, well before they ever came up with the Canada Student Service Grant. We know that we employed a member of the finance minister's family and that the Morneau family went on 2 luxury vacations paid for by we. We know that we was facing significant financial challenges and that they sent 2 separate proposals to various Liberal ministers to help them out. And we know that Justin Trudeau and Bill Morneau turned around and handed their friends at we a $1 billion management contract or funds to manage under the guise of supporting youth during the pandemic.
O'Toole has been clear that his motion is not one that says the opposition has lost confidence in the government. It's one that's calling for a committee. Now, some of you might be saying, why not go for an election now? Well, quite simply because the Liberals would win a majority. All the polling shows that. Every government across the country is being re-elected when they go to the polls. So Trudeau wants an election now because due to the pandemic, Canadians are rallying to the government. Just like Americans rally around their president during a war, Canadians are rallying around their prime minister and their premiers when it comes to a pandemic. It would be foolish to go for an election now. But the Liberals can't use their minority situation in Parliament to block any attempt to look into what they've done over the last year when it comes to the pandemic. We know they've made mistakes, and in order to correct those mistakes going forward, we need to look at what went before. The Liberals want to try and block that, and all of this just makes me wonder if they're going to these lengths, proroguing Parliament, filibustering committees, threatening an election. How bad is the information they don't want you to see? Make sure you share this video on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, tweet it out, email it to your Aunt May in Whitby. Do whatever you need to do to get the word out.